A premier event on the PGA Tour this week. Golf's unofficial fifth major championship at TPC Sawgrass in Ponte Vedra Beach, Florida. And live on location for us on this Tuesday on the early line, Keith Stewart joins us here all across the SportsGrid network. Keith, the background is looking great. We know you are right there at TPC Sawgrass. Are we still deeming this golf's unofficial fifth major championship?
Oh, I'm sure that the PGA Tour is. And good morning, guys. Great to be with you from down here at Ponte Vedra Beach. It's a beautiful day, and the Tour is pumping this thing up. It's the Daytona 500. It's the Super Bowl. It's the flagship event. And the golf course, the TPC Sawgrass Stadium course, looks exquisite. Let's get this thing on.
One of the strongest fields in all of the sport of golf. And Keith, we will look at the leaderboard, or at least the odds board, and at the top, you see Scottie Scheffler, a very short price in comparison to every other player in this field at the Players' Championship. You could cut Rory's price in half. You'd still need to take off 50 cents to get to Scottie's number at plus 550. Part of the reason has to be the performance last week at the Arnold Palmer Invitational. Pacing the field by 5 shots, 15 under par. Scottie Scheffler, the champion at the API. How dominant was the performance out of Scottie Scheffler last week down at Bay Hill?
Oh, just look at the Sunday 66 that he shot. Not a bogey on the card where all the guys around him are ejecting left and right. It was really impressive. I was there on site. You guys know that. I watched the warm-up with the putter all week. He switched to the mallet. I still thought the stroke looked a little bit shaky. Whatever happened there on Saturday when he screamed at himself and he screamed at his caddy, Ted Scott, it stuck because after that, his putter was on fire. The guy went nuclear, and he won by 5, which is exactly what he did last year when his putter was basically flat with the field. So it doesn't bode well, and that's why the odds are so low. At 550, I don't know if we can touch that against 143 other guys unless it's a live bet, but I tell you what, it's deserving.
Keith, let's take a look at the golf course itself. All throughout the 90s, when we started to get the video games with EA Sports here, everybody wanted to play TPC Sawgrass because of the 17th hole. Talk to anybody out there who doesn't understand what the course layout is in Ponte Vedra there. What is it about? Is it lengthy? Is it short? Is it hard? What are some of the tougher holes that we can anticipate? And also that iconic 17th hole.
Well, one thing's for sure. This is not one of the longest golf courses out there on the PGA Tour. And the Tour, their headquarters is right here. They could change the golf course any way they want. But Pete Dye's diabolical design tests you the whole way around. It's got to be one of the most visually intimidating golf courses out there for these guys to compete on. And none is more exemplifies that than the 17th hole. I mean, when you think about it, the island green surrounded by water, it was supposedly his wife's idea, Alice, to say, hey, why don't we do this? It's the most polarizing finish in all of golf. We absolutely love it when guys, they make eagle on 16, they hit the eject button there on 17, 18. We've seen some wild scores with water up the left. There's 2 things, Donnie, when it comes to the golf course this week, I want all the bettors to really pay attention to. This event was played in May for a long stretch from 2007 to 2018. We got to throw that data, that statistics, that analysis out the window. 2019, we returned to a March start for this event. And 2019 through 2023, look at the winners. Rory, JT, Cam Smith, Scottie, major winners. This is a big-time event when it's played in March. And these guys, they know it's a tough test, and they're coming in ready. And you saw a lot of good names there at API in great form.
Scottie Scheffler winning by 5 last week at Bay Hill. At the API, he won by 5, as Keith alluded to, last year at the Players' Championship as well in 2023. As we focus on the 17th hole, Keith, before we get some early leans on the early line across the odds board and the leaderboard, our show sponsored by the FanDuel Sportsbook, a FanDuel special this week, a 25% profit boost on if there will be a hole-in-one at the 17th at TPC Sawgrass. The no is the favored side right now at minus 210. But Keith Stewart, tell us, will there be an ace this week at number 17?
I would bet the yes on that for sure, Ben, because it's one of the shortest par threes, and these guys have a wedge in hand from 135 yards. And another reason why I'm going to say yes is that looking ahead at the weather, the biggest challenge around here is always the wind. That island green sits less than a mile from the Atlantic coast. So the wind, the stadium seating, all of the hospitality tents, it tends to swirl in there. But the wind is going to sit in the low teens, maybe get to the mid-teens this week. It's not going to be terrible. I think that these guys, when they put this pin up front, they're going to hit that backboard. They're going to suck it back. And I believe for sure that you're going to see an ace this week in one of the 4 competitive rounds.
Repeat performances here, Keith, because as we know, this tournament is played on the same golf course every single year. 3 out of the top 4 golfers here currently at the FanDuel Sportsbook odd-wise would be Scottie Scheffler, Rory McIlroy, and Justin Thomas. Those 3 guys have won in the past couple years. Do you give an extra bump to those guys that know their way around the golf course and have dominated here?
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, we have 22 rookies, and I bet 2/3 of those guys don't make the cut. This is definitely one of those places where player experience is a huge asset. You know, just the weather alone sometimes can cause a little bit of havoc, and these guys need to know how to adjust, how to be able to, pick their sight lines. I mean, 2 or 3 days just to get warmed up and get ready for the toughest test in golf, it's just not enough time. And there's too many guys in the field, 144 players going for $25 million, $4.5 million for first, top 65 in ties. There's just way too many guys that know this golf course really well or are just super elite that those rookies, they really don't stand a chance. I'm definitely favoring the guys that have great experience. And I mean, here's a good one for you. In the last 2 years, only 4 guys have finished in the top 25. Victor Hovland, Russell Henley, Max Homa, and Adam Hadwin. All guys that have played here a bunch, and all guys that are veteran tour players that know how to keep their ball safe around this place and get it in the hole.
So despite what is happening in the golf world, it is still a very, very strong field this week at the Players' Championship in 2024. So, Keith, when you look at it, Scottie Scheffler deserving of that short number to be the front runner and favorite at plus 550, but it also then maybe allows some value behind him on the rest of the odds board. Who has a good week at TPC Sawgrass?
Hey, Scottie did us a great favor last week by winning by 5. Going into the API, we had 6 guys under 20-1. Now we have 2. So to your point, Ben, I love some of the numbers in this field. And if I'm going with my early leans here on the early line, we got to be talking about Will Zalatoris. 6 of the last 6 winners finished tied 22nd or better in their prior start. So all these guys that we're talking about, if they weren't in contention at Bay Hill, they probably won't be in contention here. You cannot find your game here, and Willie Z is on point. His last 3 starts, 13th, 2nd, 4th. Love his ball striking. Probably one of the few guys whose ball striking can keep up with Scottie. I'd like Max Homa, too. He's sitting there at 28-1. Max, like I just said, he's got 2 top 25 starts here in his last 2 starts at the Players course. For sure, he was great chipping and putting around those greens at Bay Hill, and also with the flat stick. You're going to need that here. Wyndham Clark, this guy might be the new Brooks Koepka. He gets up for the big events. You've seen it. He won Pebble. He won the U.S. Open. Last year, his first career win was a signature event at Wells Fargo. He loves a tough test, and his game stands up to it. And the other guy is, I think, he looks back to 2020 and the COVID cancellation. That first round after the tour had to cancel the start of the Players, Hideki Matsuyama sitting at 33-1, shot 63 and led the event. Watch out for Hideki this week. He's been great lately and won the Genesis.
He did do that. Keith Stewart, we appreciate it. Enjoy the Players' Championship this week at Sawgrass. More of the early line coming your way next.